Yeah, hey everybody, this is Ian from Mindful Marketplace, and today I'm going to do a couple different things. One, I'm going to give you an update on our email marketing campaign. This is for those of you who are building authority sites and web directories and stuff like that. And I'm also going to, if I can find it, it's somewhere here, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, I'm going to give you some additional thoughts on what I think are the absolute easiest ways to conceptualize building your directory, your marketplace, your niche community, your authority site, etc. So the first thing, a few weeks ago, I think this is maybe earlier in January 2021, I showed you some of our email marketing outreach campaigns that we're sending. As you can see, today's the 26th, I think, of January. So these were the emails that went out just a couple days ago, and then you can see going back to the beginning of the month, actually towards the end of December, just from this one actual email address, which is assigned to one person in our virtual assistant community. So I have one person who runs this one email address, and this is her responsibility. So you can see how the email has changed over the course. You can see how the subject line, even for an example, mindfulness in a crisis. This is what we were using, back earlier in the month. Let's see, that was actually just a couple days ago. Mindfulness in a crisis. Share your favorite practice with us, Liz. All right, so I can show you the whole letter. This is part of our community. So if you're in the Launch It course community, you have access to this whole email outreach campaign, or at least you can copy and paste the email itself. And this was working fairly well for getting folks to respond. With a one sentence mindfulness practice. That's what we were asking them to do. And that was just a way of getting them involved or engaged with our content, our community, to check the site, to write me back, to share something about themselves. More like sort of an icebreaker sort of email, which was working really well. People were sending out this. Or sending back their response to this. The ask was very simple. It was a one sentence mindfulness practice that they incorporate into their own lives to navigate through difficult and challenging times. The problem with that is that I'm finding that it's not really leading to a lot of clients, right? So we're getting a lot of introductions, but no people who are really interested in the core offers that we're putting out there in the world, which are more branding for mindfulness-based professionals, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, people who are teaching mindfulness to kids and teens, all of the target audience that we have in mind. Really, it was kind of like just meh in terms of response in that capacity. So we just changed the letter. Again, as you can see here, in the last couple of days, now it's promote your practice on Mindful Marketplace, right? So that was um, that was the lead. This one actually was returns. That's probably a bad example. Let's try this one. All right, so the lead, the ask is now different, right? And again, you can access this in the community as well if you're a part of our community. So you'll have a copy of this to use as well for your own business, whatever you're doing. You can modify this to meet your own needs. Let me make sure I just don't have anyone's email address revealed on YouTube or in our course community. That's the problem of sharing this stuff live. I actually get a lot of pushback from people that I work with for doing these things in this transparent way. But anyway, you can see that I'm trying to make sure I'm not revealing her email address. I don't know this person, but this was an email that went out. So you can see in this case now we're promoting our community platform blog, which is built on Ghost, this multi-author community blog. And it's another long verbose email where I'm basically stating what it is that we're trying to do, which in this case is help mindfulness-based practitioners increase their revenue, increase their audience, et cetera, and asking if they want to contribute content to this multi-author ghost blog, so this multi-author kind of marketplace sort of setup of content, not products, right? We're going to incorporate products into this, but that's not really the ask. Well, guess what? Out of all the emails that went out from this one account anyway, not one person responded to this, right? So that sucks, and that's something that you learn doing this work. Can fuck with your head a tad, right? So you put a lot of time and effort into writing something that is good and that is persuasive, and you think is actually an improvement or an iteration to the good on what you were sending out before, which was working, and you find that it's not only not an improvement, right? So we're going backwards now, but nobody responded, right? So the fix for that, or the antidote to that, is to write a newsletter. So here is the newsletter that is now about to go out, and you can see this is as short and direct as it gets, right? So we're going to see how this does. Can I drag this down? I can. So you can see here's the email that now Michelle is going to be sending out starting later today, which is very short, very direct, and not as verbose as I'm generally inclined to be, right? So now it's just basically asking people to connect with me on the phone, or one of our people on the phone. In this case, it's me, to discuss how we can build their brand in 2021, right? So it's a much more direct ask. We're no longer sort of beating around the bush or asking them to write a one sentence mindfulness technique that we're then going to be incorporating into our platform and sharing with our audience, blah, 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 which was working really well, but not in the short term generating the sort of client interest that I was hoping for. To now this email, which is a little bit kind of in between. It's more of a verbose sort of exposition on our own aims for 2021 and how they can be part of that, to now just something very simple, straightforward that says, hey, if you're interested in chatting on the phone this week, let's do it. We want to talk in a no pressure way about what we can do, what your goals are this year, and how we may be able to help you accomplish those by dint of our platform. All right, so I'm going to share that as well, that email, which I think is well written, and pretty, and I expect it to have some, improvement over this one here. All right. So, and it was very funny, by the way. I actually had the person who's sending this email, when I had encouraged, she's in no way affiliated with entrepreneurialism or anything like that. She's just a virtual assistant who helps with this stuff. She's very good, and we've become quite friendly from afar. And it was very funny because I said to her in this sort of text message thread that we had the other day, I said, I've never failed to say in 200 words what could be said in 20. It's sort of a self-effacing joke about my own sort of verbosity, my own instinct to talk too much. And she laughed and said, yeah, I think, when I suggested writing a shorter email, she basically said, not knowing anything about the business, I think that's a good idea. So anyway, I'm taking that advice, and now we're writing shorter emails. Okay, so here is something that I think everyone who's building one of these sorts of directories, whether it's the My Listing theme, whether it's Listing Pro, whether it's Listify, it doesn't matter, right? I think here are really important ideas that you need to keep in mind when launching something like this. And again, this workbook is available in your, in the course contents. I'm not going to be doing that many more of these, so I'm kind of going to be really scaling back the directory sort of content that I'm creating in public, other than sharing what we're doing behind the scenes for our own platform with my own community. So if you're interested, this might be, I'm going to put these kind of together into one video, simply because I don't have the time to create a separate video for each of these. So the email is included in this one. I'm saying this badly, but again, I'm just moving on to this other topic, which is, these are the ways in which I think everyone, all of us, should conceptualize these sort of platforms and projects in a way that's going to lead to the most success. So one, I've said this before, income and assets. This is always, you need to bucket these things into two sort of silos. One is income, so you're building a site like this for income, and the second one is for the asset value, right? And they are very disparate ideas. They do work together in a harmonious way, but you need to conceptualize these things differently, and I'm going to show you why. In the next couple points, and I've covered this before. This is not new material, but recurring income would be you're selling featured listings, you're giving people priority of placement on your platform, you're selling memberships, etc. Often people do this monthly, and I have found this to be a very less than optimal model for these sorts of sites. The reason is simple. One, you're going to spend all your time trying to get people to pay this fee on a monthly basis, whether it's $10 a month, $50 a month, to be listed on your directory, your authority site, your niche community, etc. And it's challenging, right? The first one of these that I built, and I've covered this many, many times, was in a psychic medium niche. And that was probably 10 years ago already. And I got all these people who were paying money to be featured on this platform. But month one, but then month two, because it was a newish platform, they weren't getting clients yet, they weren't getting calls yet, right? So a certain percentage of people fall off, they quit, right? There is an attrition rate that happens almost immediately after your first 30 days, and now you're trying to either replace that income, or you're trying to get new people, and it's a what have you done for me lately sort of model. Like, I had multiple people tell me back then, well, I didn't get any clients, I didn't get any calls, so why would I pay another month? And like, that A, hurts your feelings, B, it's dispiriting, if you're running this sort of community. And C, it's true, and there's very little you can do other than reinvest the fees that people are telling you or paying you, in Facebook ads and things like that, which is an approach that you can utilize to sort of offset that. But I just find, if you're going to do the income, if you think you're going to be building one of these sites for the immediate recurring income from featured listings and things like that, you're going to be disappointed unless you're charging big upfront fees for a back-end service that includes a feature listing. That's the approach that I use and recommend. So you might charge, rather than $50 a month or $30 a month for the listing, you might charge $1,000 a year, but include a listing, a featured listing, and all this priority of placement on your platform, etc., etc. But you're getting all the money up front for the year, so there's not that month-to-month pressure. It's not what have you done for me lately sort of thing. You have a long-term relationship, or at least a year, if that's long-term, to flesh out all the value you can offer folks, on your platform. Of course, you can give them all sorts of help over the course of that 12 months that gives massive value to them, gives you the income that you need to succeed. All right, so if you're using the income model immediately, that's the approach I recommend. All right, assets. This is obviously a long-term view. You're building the site with a virtual, let's just say virtual real estate model, right? So, you're thinking about like building a house, in the sky, so to speak, with your website, and then over time it's going to have value. This assumes that if you do the right things, you add content that's ultimately ranking well in your niche, industry, or marketplace, so long term, you'll have an asset that will pay you a healthy multiple for the time invested in building the platform, right? So this assumes that you have a longer term view, and you're going to work 3 days or 5 days to put up a local website in your niche with good keywords, etc., and that in a year or two, that 3 days you put into that project, you can sell that for $1,000, $5,000, $9,000, whatever it is. That's it's a very good approach to scaling these sorts of microsites, right? Or not microsites, or bigger communities that that are have a value that is projected sometime into the future. And if you're going to build lots of these sorts of sites, you can absolutely make a shit ton of money, just building, one of these a weekend and then selling it in the future, or in a week or 2 weeks, or whatever. But I don't. I mean, I like the long term value more. The flipping sites model is like, building something like local, best sushi, mytown.com, and then adding 20 sushi sites, and then selling that directory in a month to a local sushi restaurant, in which case obviously they can have their own site be ranked number one, right? Or whatever the approach that you decide to go is. So the example I give is, years ago we put up a site, Shore Sushi, right, for a resort, Jersey Shore sort of community. And those sorts of sites are really easy because they have a finite number that you can actually add. There's only a certain amount of sushi restaurants in a given town or locality, or shore environment, like a resorty environment. So it's not like you have all this work to do. You just have or finite focus. One weekend adding all the restaurants, and then two, you're just simply letting them all know, hey, you've been added, and blah 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 blah. And if you're interested in this site, we'll sell to you for X, and then we'll manage it for you for a year. And again, if there's 10 sushi restaurants in a given environment that don't even have their own website, they're going to be very interested, and that's often true. They're going to be very interested in buying something like that for you, where there's, they can position themselves as the top site on that platform, and you can manage that, and you can even build them a secondary, like a card website, or like one of these, like you can build like using another platform. I don't like Wix, but those sorts of platforms, you can actually give them a second website, to accentuate or improve the niche directory that you're selling to them. I mean, you just have to be imaginative from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and the sky is the limit, right? So in this case, that's ideal. If you have a great domain name, you can quickly build a directory, sell it to folks who are competitive in that space. For an example, best pizza, sushi, as I just mentioned, dental, etc. It doesn't matter. You can offer to manage this site as part of the sale price. Again, that's what I just said, giving you the opportunity to get good multiples on the carrot value. And again, there's a video in the course with the 10K per site model, where you're essentially looking to build these little micro sites that you're selling for $10,000 a piece, or trying to get $10,000 in revenue, which is the easier way, from the site per year. So you're only looking to make $800 a month or something, per site, but you do this at scale, which gives you the opportunity to really rapidly grow your digital media brand. I will also tell you, and again, this is not part of this, but the easiest way of doing this is just cloning your site. So you create, using a managed WordPress host, you create one sort of quintessential directory or marketplace or community, and then you just clone it, right? So then all you're doing is really cloning the one site and then scaling that across all of your individual niches. All right, these are really the approaches that I use for our Mindful Marketplace community, which extends far beyond our Mindful Marketplace. We have now sites and apps that we're building in the Mindfulness for Kids, Zen Kids, Zen Teens. We have all these different, course communities, and we have a new thing that's now in the near-death experience and spiritually transformative experience niche that I'm really excited about. That's really been easy to build. We're using Circle, the software as a service for community, for communities for that. And just in the last couple days, we've built a landing page. I have someone working on YouTube, to help, find, members for this. That's really gone quite well as well. So, for me, these are really the approaches that I use and recommend, which is the appearance of authority, right? I'm less interested in building a Yelp for whatever niche. I'm more interested in just looking like an authority in a niche vertical or industry. I'm interested in looking like the expert. right? By dint of owning something that people can look at that gives me the appearance of an advantage for them to bring their marketing business to us, right? It gives you the appearance of being the go-to guru, the expert, or the authority in your niche. And again, this is also the approach that we use and recommend, as I just said, across the suite of our mindful marketplace, platform products, right? I'm less interested, and this is what people don't get, right? And it's always like sort of like I find this friction point. I'm less interested in like Listing Pro or this, or I mean, like that's like nonsense to me. Like what platform you're using or what theme or what plugins. You use what works to accomplish your goals. But for me, ultimately, all that is of a piece of simply wanting to look like the authority, even if it's not, I'm not, even if I'm not the authority. I want a competitive advantage by dint of having something that people can look at that I have built that makes me look smarter, more skilled, more expert, etc. than I am. That's it. I mean, that's the entire sort of, animating, motivating ethos and approach. It's fake in some way. Like I want to build things that I can say to people, this is what we've built. This is who we built it for. Take a look at it. You can see it here. And we'd like to work with you. And if you work with us, we'll promote you on our platform, right? So you're essentially using this appearance of an asset, or even if it's brand new, to like show people like the evidence of your success, the evidence that you can do something for them. And that's, so it's not fake in that sense, but when I say fake, I mean you can do that in a weekend. Put up a multi-author blog on something like Ghost, or build a directory, using a fancy WordPress theme. That's the only utility those things have to me, right? And people get really lost in this sort of pursuit of the perfect plugin, the perfect tool, the perfect tech, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's to their detriment. Okay, and then again, this is of a piece of the above. Really all I'm trying to do is sell services to people that help them improve their lives, right? So I want to give my clients a rock star result, something that transforms them from where they were before they entered my orbit into something that is new and exciting and different, that they can say their entrepreneurial experience had a before and after moment. And the before moment was they were, before they met me, so to speak, or our company, so to speak, in the, experience of, their entrepreneurial, goals and objectives. And then after, like how things changed since you've entered into our entrepreneurial orbit, right? Can I give them this like transformation where they've come in a certain way and they go out a different way? And that's where all of these tools and tech and software and services come to play for us, right? Build a platform that gives you the appearance of authority or expertise, and then sell high-end back-end services that give you an unfair advantage over folks who don't have that appearance of authority, don't have that site, don't have that asset. It's so simple, right? I mean, if two people are writing, if two book, um, people who are helping others write a book, which is what we really want to do. I want to help our authors or our mindfulness teachers and therapists and coaches write books, teach courses, and create content, because that's what I do best. That's my passion, right? It's not web design, it's not WordPress, it's not those sorts of things. But I want to be able to say to them, come hire us. And the way you do that, the way you differentiate yourselves is by having something that, in addition to the service that you're offering, gives you all of this other bevy of benefits, right? These other downstream benefits to your clients. So if it's me and somebody else, and we're both equally as qualified, we're equally as persuasive or not in our pitch, we're equally priced, everything is completely the same. other than I own a mindful marketplace, suite of sites and services that we can promote our clients, and the other guy doesn't. Who do you think people are going to choose if they're smart? They're going to say, well, everything's exactly the same, but this guy has this whole sort of audience that he can connect me with. And he has this whole like platform. They can give me a profile and he can feature my books. And I'm going to have all this sort of secondary, benefit or benefits or advantage that I can't get from all these other, similar services. Of course, they're going to hire the person who has the appearance of more assets and income, or excuse me, not income, more assets, because they don't care about your income, obviously. They care about what you have in the world to leverage to promote them, right? And it always amazes me how few of these entrepreneurs actually do that. Like even people that I see in that compete in our space, that they don't put up a directory, for an example, or they don't put up like a marketplace of all the books that their clients have written, and promote them, really in a more structured way. Like you might see people, who sell these sorts of services mention their books on their Facebook page or Twitter or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they're not doing it in a really structured way, right? And oftentimes you'll see, surprisingly, where people you wouldn't think would be entrepreneurial in this sense are doing that. Like I just saw a something in this sort of spiritual niche. There was like this past life regression therapy thing, and I was looking at the of what they were doing. Not that I believe in past lives, but I was looking at what their things, their services are. And one of the things that surprised me was they had a directory on the site, using a WordPress plugin or whatever, of all the people who've been certified in this particular, past life regression thing, which I found really smart, right? I mean, that's what I'd want to see if I'm going to get licensed to do that sort of work. I'd want to know that the provider is actually, in addition to training me, going to be promoting my practice thereafter. All right. So anyway, all of this applies to you in the sense that you can do this very same way. There's nothing special about me or my ideas other than, if you're creating best dental New York City, best dental, Cleveland, whatever it is, Detroit dental, and you're, selling listings to your members, like what would you offer those people, those dentists, that would be irresistible, that would make them feel silly to not want to be featured on your platform? And you just keep adding stuff in until people eventually say yes. I mean, you can really just meet the need in your own niche, your own community, your own, idea, et cetera, by just looking at what they empirically need, what they don't have, and then just giving that to them as part and parcel of participating on your platform as a premium member, as a paid member. All right, that's it. I'm going to shut up. I'm done. So you have, and if you're in our community, you can share your objectives and your goals below, and I will, on this form, and I will, I'll give you some feedback based on, my sense of what you should do from my perspective. And this is an interactive forum, again, for folks who are, in our community. Also, there's the whole affiliate marketing thing. I'm not going to get into that here, but that's a easy way of adding income while you're building the asset, right? I mean, I've covered this ad nauseum already, but you can really quickly, for an example, in that psychic directory that we built years and years ago. Many of you already have seen these videos, but the way I really turned that profitable was selling, these entertainment sort of psychic readings as an affiliate for some of these companies like Psychic Source and California Psychics, these entertainment, inexpensive readings that paid us $100 per referral, right? So I mean, they had this huge payout that allowed me, and I eventually gave that site to somebody else, but I still have some ownership in it. But you know, it allowed us to monetize that without having to sell those feature listings. We were just trying to get lots of content at it, because every time someone bought a psychic source reading, they would pay us $100 or $110 or something. And that's a really easy way of earning an income using affiliate marketing while you're building the site, right? I mean, you're trying to make $800 a month in this 10K per site model. We were doing much more than that. But if that's the goal, you only need 8 people over the course of a month to buy a $100 affiliate, product, that, or a product that pays you $100, to meet that very, very quickly. And that's quite easy to do. It's more challenging, of course, to find offers that pay $100 a pop for lots of niches. I do understand that's a challenge for many of us, but in that particular niche, it wasn't, because it's the industry norm. All of those particular affiliate offers paid that sort of you know uh, high end, first time someone would call one of those services, they'd pay the referring site $100, which is quite generous. All right. Anyway, I'm not covering affiliate marketing here, but it is an important piece of that income generation piece when you're first launching something like this as an asset, right? So you need to be able to get to the point where the site pays for itself, or is not a tax on you from an expense standpoint, where you're just costing you money, you're not making any money, therefore you give up on the project, which is what most people do. 95% of the sites that I see built in these spaces, as I'm sure you see as well, are just abandoned. Like, you'll find like all these My Listing sites that were built 3 years ago that are just sitting out there, look like shit. They haven't been, they haven't been, touched in a year, let's say, or Listing Pro. Like, I see all these like sort of these grand ideas that people have, and they just get dumped on the sort of the side of the highway, so to speak, and they just look like roadkill. They're like half done, they're like not done at all, they just have the demo data still there, and you see some domain names that are really good, that, like, I'm like, that's a shame, because there are so many ways that someone could have, used affiliate marketing, let's say, to build a small income that made it worth staying with the project, and then ultimately being able to sell that for $5,000 or $8,000 or $2,000, and made the one weekend that they put into that a $2,000 weekend, right? And if you do that every weekend, you're going to have a lot of assets to be able to sell. Okay, that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, in the community. And I hope this has been helpful. I'm not going to be doing too many more of these publicly, because it's just, I mean, they're not getting a ton of views, and I'm just doing this basically for my own community anyway. And I post this stuff on YouTube in the hope that it's going to expand the audience a little bit. But it's sort of, I'm not, really all that keen on continuing these directory videos. So if this has been helpful and you want to join our private community, feel free to do so. And I hope this has been helpful for everyone else. All right. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.